sir. Yes, sir. We are back. We are back. We are back. It's the Open Gym Podcast. Oh, man. Let me fix my camera. With me, Rondell Sutherland. T. Nesbitt right over there. How you feeling, T? Yes, sir.
Great, man. Rough, long morning. Tough to get here, but we got here.
Yeah, we here.
These are Ohio days, too, though, by the way. It's always a task out here to get from point A to B, especially in the wintertime in Ohio, but we are here. It's going down in our town. Hey.
Yes, sir. Hold on. You might have to say all that again. I put the wrong mic up. Oh, I mean, they probably heard you because, it was a mic right next to you, but still.
That's cool. They know what time it is.
Yeah, they know what time it is.
We got too many different spiels. Anyway, we ain't got no time to waste. Let's get it done.
That's crazy. I'm still out here messing up. But, yeah, What do I normally say?
We back. We back. Amongst other mumbo jumbos.
Yeah, but
We need shirts with our sayings.
I forgot. See, I got to do that at the start of every show. We are presented by Mojo Sports Care.
Touche.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that. Hold up. Yeah, I'm still a little messy this morning. But, right
Somebody
now,
went out.
we just recapping the game. So, last night, let's see.
We had some bangers last night, didn't we?
Yeah, we had the Clippers Nets. We're going to talk about that. We had the Raptors Magic. We're going to talk about that one, too.
50 ball.
Yes, sir. We had the Grizzlies Pacers, the Trailblazers Wizards, Celtics Warriors, which also was a good game, but I ain't put that on the rundown, really. And then the Pistons Jazz. I guess we could have talked about how the Pistons are falling apart, and Blake Griffin looks like he's, tired of it, but do you really want to talk about that?
Well, I could get it briefly. A lot has to do with Blake Griffin being on the roster. Like, that's a lot of money to pay for a guy that I think is averaging around 14 points a game now. Me personally, I'm not big on, when I see somebody frustrated because they lose a lot, that never moves me just because I don't want nobody happy being a loser. So, I get his frustrations. I get that he probably wants out. I get that he didn't want to be there in the first place. He got traded there. But, you kind of roll with the punches. That's kind of the thing. Like, life's about decisions. So, his decision to re-sign with the Clippers ended up biting him because the Clippers, they did all that hurrah. We're going to put your jersey up in the rafters, whatever. They said all the good things that was going to get him in bed with him, so to speak. And then they traded him 6 months later. But that's the nature of the game. So, it was him re-signing with them for them to have the ability to do that to him, in which they took full advantage of, and they shipped him all the way to Detroit. It's a long way to go. Jared Goff is going to be able to tell you the same thing. From going from California to Detroit, it's a big difference. But,
he's actually averaging 12.4 right now.
See, I gave him too much credit. That's not good enough. You're Blake Griffin. Like, I can understand being frustrated and being mad, but part of this is on YouTube. So, Jerry Grant, he's done, came in and took over that spot. So, it is what it is. That's a bad team. So, Blake's not Derrick Rose. Like, Derrick Rose is probably going to get shipped somewhere, play for a contender because he's under a good contract. He still contributes, but he's going to end up in a better spot. Blake's getting all that dough. Ain't nobody going to want him. Any contract can be traded. I get that, but you're probably going to be worse off by trading Blake. So they got something to figure out. But Detroit they're going to be where they're going to be. Right. That's already probably too much to be said about them.
I guess the two biggest games was the Raptors and the Magic because I can never get this man's last name right. Van Vliet.
Van Fleet.
It's Van Vliet.
Is it?
Yeah, it's with a V, ain't it?
No, it's Van Fleet. The Van is with a V.
It's VANVLEET.
It's FLEET.
Wow, I'm seeing different spellings of this man's name. No, it's Van Vliet. Van Vliet.
You sure?
Yeah.
You looking at it right now?
I'm looking at it right now.
Might be right.
Man, that's crazy. Everyone say Van Fleet.
That might be. Maybe everybody else is the ones that can't say it right, and you're the one that can. Maybe that's the case.
That I had the graphic, everything, just to talk about how DeMar DeRozan congratulated Fred Van Vliet on passing his his record, his points record, which was, I guess, I don't know what DeMar's was, but it's 54. So Fred got it now.
51, I want to say.
Was it 51?
I think so, because I know Terrence Ross had a 51 too. So it was either 51 or 52.
Okay.
But shout out to Van Fleet.
Yeah. He went off against the Magic, but I mean, at the same time, it's the Magic. So.
It is stink. DeMar DeRozan, he misses them. You can tell. Like, and granted, that has to suck.
I mean, it really does. Because I was sitting back thinking on it, and I'm like, they really traded him, and then the next season they got a championship.
Yeah, that sucks.
Like, that has to suck.
that blows. But I mean, LeBron James being out of that conference had a lot to do with it. And I mean, DeMar DeRozan, he set himself up for that too, though. The fact that he said, basically like LeBron was a cheat code, which I mean, he's right, he kind of is. But
right.
If my team had LeBron, we'd win too. That kind of haunted him. That kind of mentality. I'm personally, I want somebody that I want the challenge of playing LeBron. Like, I don't want nobody that's afraid of him. At the end of the day, he's still another grown man, just like you are. You're both talented. You're both athletic. Then, I don't know what. LeBron just has the other stuff that, the mental game that DeMar DeRozan doesn't seem to have. So, I mean, it's different ways to elevate your teammates. DeMar DeRozan, he's the guy that gets them, he's kind of like the Mark Jackson of the Toronto Raptors, where Mark Jackson got them, I don't want to say relevant, but he got them in a pretty good spot. He just didn't make them championship good.
No, I feel like relevant is the right word to use.
That could be. I just think Steph was already kind of coming. The Clay factor wasn't really there yet. You know what I'm saying? So him putting them guys together and making them do what they do was a whole different ball game. But that started something. Steve Kerr finished it. It's the same thing in Toronto with DeMar DeRozan. I think DeMar DeRozan took the Toronto Raptors as far as they was going to go with him. Kawhi is a different animal. Kawhi helps you win championships. So there's a difference between, and that gives you the all-star, superstar argument. Like, I don't think nobody will call DeMar DeRozan a superstar, but he's an all-star caliber player.
Yeah, he's a star, all-star caliber player, but he's not a superstar.
But that usually has a cap.
Right.
As Kawhi Leonard, he's a superstar, so his cap is championship or bust. DeMar DeRozan is probably conference finals, conference semifinals, somewhere around there. As the guy now, DeMar DeRozan, anybody can win a championship if you have the right teammates around you. You throw DeMar DeRozan on the Lakers, he wins the championship.
That's funny because I think there is rumors about a trade between the Lakers and Spurs.
That would be a great move for him because now he doesn't have to be the guy. You can see San Antonio's hovering around that 8th to 10th spot. You know why? Because LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan aren't number ones for you. They're number 2s and number 3s. If they find them a number 1, they can compete. Right. But them being the guys, it's not gonna work. So I mean, it has to suck. But at some point in time, you have your own team. Quit looking over there with your other guys. It is what it is. They done moved on without you, buddy.
Yeah, they done moved on, won a championship. Now they trying to repeat success.
Still tasting that champagne with Drake.
Yeah, but the records that Van Vliet passed was the most ever, I guess, the most points ever by an undrafted player in NBA history, which was Moses Malone's record of 53. Now he got that at 54, and DeMar DeRozan's single game franchise record of 52.
Okay, yeah, it was 52. All right, cool. Yeah, because I knew Terrence Ross had the 51.
That's crazy.
And that was just random. Like, what the? Terrence Ross did what? But I mean, when you think about it, Mo Williams has a 51-point game too. So, yeah, I don't want to say anybody can get 50, but it's possible. You shoot it enough times.
Yeah, anyone can get 50, but can you get 81 points?
Oh no, no, that's a whole different ball game. But shout out to Van Vliet. So shout out to him because I mean that's still, especially an undersized point guard. I don't know who's the 2 guard or who's the point guard in that team, but you're still in a smallish backcourt.
I think when he's on the court, he's the 1 spot, and then Lowry's 2.
Well, it's still, you still putting up buckets, you still doing your thing, and Kyle Lowry had a triple-double. You know what I'm saying? So I mean that's the way to work. But Toronto needs everything that they could have got out of Van Vliet anyway. That was one of those. He didn't hit 54 unnecessary points. Them was all needed. So I mean, shout out to him. Good job.
Yeah, shout out to him.
And they need them wins because they're at the bottom. So I mean, that may start them up, but I still think that they're in more trouble than they necessarily want to admit to. They still kind of have that championship DNA, blowing through their veins right now. But eventually, they're gonna have to kind of embrace the rebuild, and that's coming. I
mean, Siakam's still on their team, right?
Yeah, but Siakam's a young gunner. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, like that's truly the problem when you be seeing Siakam's highlights sometimes.
Yeah,
like he got to continue to develop his game because it really seems like they trying to depend on him at times.
Yeah, he kind of overrated his value by being the championship guy with Kawhi in that same front court with Kawhi, right. And he had some great games where he did his thing, but that's the gravity of Kawhi that helped that out a lot. It's a whole different ball game. It's kind of like if you want to put the football aspect on it, it's kind of like Juju Smith-Schuster with Antonio Brown. When you have a guy like that on your team, taking away a lot of that coverage and a lot of that gravity and doing those kind of things, it helps you out a lot. But at the end of the day, you need that guy to become who you are. And that might be a flash in the pan kind of situation where he ended up being, where you looked at that finals run, and you're like, man, Siakam could really play. He's next year he's an all-star starter, all that. But eventually you're going to regress to who you really are. It's kind of like a charade thing. You only can keep a charade on for so long.
Right.
Eventually, the real you is going to show up. And right now we're just dealing with that. And they're figuring out that they need another number one. I didn't see it. Maybe tweaking.
One of those, nobody gonna tell me one of those stink bugs was on my shoulder this whole time? That's crazy. I look down, I just see something. All right.
I thought with snowfall being not too far from coming down the pipeline, you just felt motivated. You felt inspired. I didn't know what was happening to you.
This whole time, it's just sitting on my shoulder, resting. Like we was buddies.
So you got to smash on the stink bugs, buddy. That's just the thing with them. You got to dunk them boys.
That's crazy. I hate Ohio sometimes, man. What's up with these bugs?
I don't know. But yeah, shout out to Toronto, man. Like,
shout out to them.
At least for one night, they just have to figure it out for the rest of this time. I mean, right. Orlando's nothing to write home about. So, I mean, I know they're dealing with the injury bugs and all that, but Orlando still is going to be average to below average if they were.
I mean, even last year they were fighting for a spot in the playoffs and they made it. No, they made it. Yeah, but I mean, even last year they still got the same team, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, they were just first round outs.
Yeah, they weren't. They're not going too far.
They were just filling the spot. Mm-hmm. They still just filling the spot.
Yeah.
They rebuilding, but yeah, so
they just kind of stayed at the same place, and other teams got better. So that's going to put you where you're at,
right?
So and teams like that, it's not room for error. But again, that's a game that Toronto and Orlando needed. You be who's on your schedule. So I don't care if my grandma's on another team. If I give her 54, I'm gonna give her 54.
Okay,
flat out.
That's kind of wild.
Grandma better play defense, man. That's just what it is.
All right, so we just gonna move to the. I mean, nothing interesting came out of the Trailblazers and Wizards.
Okay. You tripping. Nah, it did.
Bro, that thing, it literally just popped up out of nowhere.
Okay, now I see it. You got to stomp it out like a Lil Jon song. What?
Bro, that little thing is around, bro. It be popping up at random times. It's scaring me. All right, but nothing interesting came out of the Trailblazers and Wizards, right?
I would disagree. I would say Dame Time had Dame Time. I mean, it was one of them.
That's something you expect, though.
Yeah, you do, but
especially when he's up against Russ.
Yeah, but when you see it, it's still like, Dame Time is Dame Time.
Right.
And I mean, that was pretty much it. It was a close, tight-knit game for most of the time, but ended up being, I mean, Washington has its limits, man. Like, that's just what it is. They're not a good team. They're not going to be a good team. Bradley Beal, I mean, he wants to hang on there from what I hear. And, I want to say shout out to that. Like, I give a lot of crap to guys that, want to run every time adversity hits. Bradley Beal's a guy that I feel like legitimately probably should want to leave. Just because, I mean, there's no end in sight. Like, that's always my thing. If there's an end in sight and you haven't been that kind of guy, like, what makes him different than Harden is Harden was a guy that asked for so much stuff, got all that stuff. Then what he wanted didn't work anymore. Now it's, let me blame the organization. Bradley Beal, on the other hand, did none of that. And he just came in and showed up to work. He'd been a professional the whole entire time. He never threw his guys under the bus. Those are guys you want to reward and say, hey, this team stinks. It's probably going to stink for a couple more years. Go on, give me a list. Whoever you want to go to, and we're going to make something work, because that's the kind of professionalism that should get rewarded. So I shot him out for that. But, at the same time, I believe that if you want to stay, let him stay. If you're okay with dealing with a rebuild and you're okay with kind of thugging it out and you see a light at the end of the tunnel that's not a train, all good for you.
I mean, where exactly is he going to go? That's what I can't figure out.
Well, any team could use Bradley Beal.
I mean, yeah, any team could, but I mean, I feel like he should go somewhere to maximize the best of his talents. And where is that place? I feel like, if anything, if he would go somewhere, he could try to go to Milwaukee or maybe the Lakers.
I could see that Milwaukee. I could see LA. I could see
but like
Denver. That to me is probably the best spot for Bradley Beal.
Denver?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a young team. They've been playing together for years. So he got to fit in with that chemistry. I feel like he could fit in a little bit better with at least like a veteran team, or be that second scorer on a slightly veteran team like Milwaukee.
Well, I think that with Bradley Beal, he's a guy that can slot anywhere. So it's like the veteran team is definitely a help. But what I'm looking at Denver is Denver needs a scorer.
Right.
Like Jamal Murray can get you buckets. Jokic can get you buckets. But neither one of those guys are guys that I feel comfortable saying, yo, go get me a bucket. They can do it, but it's a whole, like, it's one thing to get you a bucket. It's another thing to say, all right, we need this. You can do that. You know what I'm saying? I got to draw up something for Jokic. I got to draw up something for Jamal Murray and hope for the best. Bradley Beal, I can just throw the ball out there and I know he can get you some. So it's more so I think he can maximize his potential there, especially going with what you're saying with LA. You have a great passer out there that's not a point guard. You know what I'm saying? So LeBron, open looks all the way. He can be able to play off him smooth. I mean, we were talking about Bradley Beal here, but I think Jokic actually needs more of his scoring. The Lakers are going to be where they're going to be, whether they get Bradley Beal or not. And then it adds what you can give up for him. I think Denver ultimately has more to give the Wizards than what the Lakers have, because Kuzma's going to get overrated just because it's L.A., but outside of Kuzma, if you're not giving me Anthony Davis, LeBron James, I'm not saying their team's not that great, but as far as assets, it's not a lot of great assets on the Lakers. It never really is going to be on teams with LeBron James, because the assets were already traded. All those first round picks and young players and everything, they were traded for Anthony Davis. Those are guys that probably would be better suited to go for Bradley Beal. Whereas if you're Denver, you can give up a nice package without it including Michael Porter, without including Jamal Murray or Jokic. So there's enough to be able to get you a Bradley Beal if he wants to go. But if he doesn't want to go, leave that man alone.
Yeah, it seems he doesn't want to go.
So, I mean, you never know. I mean, it's not the same level, but the same thing happened with Derrick Rose last year. Right. You would wonder, like, well, why wouldn't you want to be traded out of Detroit? They stink. You're older, you know what I'm saying? And contenders want you to be competing for a championship. But there's other reasons why Derrick Rose wants to stay in Detroit. Who knows? It's close to Chicago. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's some type of, for some people, it's not about the championships. It's not about winning. It's not about none of that. It's just about being comfortable playing where I'm playing. So, tip my hat off to him.
Yeah. And you want to talk Celtics and Warriors a little bit?
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, that was, because I think Steph had 34, 35, and the Celtics still won out.
Yeah, I mean, the better team. Steph is probably the best player. Yeah, he's the best player that was on the court.
Right.
But the best team is the Boston Celtics. So, I mean, and Golden State's coming along. It's just that Golden State, they have a lot of hit or miss players too.
Yeah, because I don't think they really have that dedicated number 2 scorer like they used to, especially with Klay out. So,
and that's the thing. Like, I still am interested in seeing what Andrew Wiggins looks like with the Klay. Because that's a guy that Andrew Wiggins can have the ball in his hands a decent amount and be able to make plays, but it's opening up more space. Like, Steph Curry can open up a certain amount of space, But then Kelly Oubre, that shrinks a little bit. Klay Thompson, it doesn't. So Andrew Wiggins can be able to do whatever he wants to do. Whereas now, Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre is kind of on the same spot. They're kind of the same type of player, long, lengthy, athletic, really wants to get to the cup, but will stay out there and shoot threes and stuff like that. But the gravity is not really sucking nobody out. The gravity, Clay's here. I mean, not Clay, Kelly's here. Wiggins is there. So it's not a lot of movement. It's not a lot of, space. So it's more so they're on top of each other. Once that opens up a little bit with Clay, I mean, I'm sure Kelly Oubre would probably be gone by this time. But by the time Clay opens up, it'll open up things for Andrew Wiggins so they can probably be their best, which I'm looking forward to seeing it, but we have another year until that happens. So, and as we see in the NBA, a lot can change in the year too. So we'll see. But I mean, it was a tough fought game all the way to the end. But it's just so much that Steph can do, and that's going to be the growing theme about this year with Steph anyway. It's going to be up to Steph. If they're going to win games, it's going to be because of Steph. If they're going to lose games, it's because they just didn't have enough. So Boston, they still have a lot to prove, just because Boston's at that spot where they should be considered contenders. But I don't think they really are considered contenders. They have a really good team, but it's not a great team. So, with games like this, it's kind of like a barometer game just to see where you're at. So, I mean, and then you integrate in Kemba. That's a good matchup against him and Steph. And I know he had a stinker a little bit ago. He had a game-winning shot opportunity against the Lakers, but he wasn't never going to make that because he was stinking up the joint all game. But you need to get him back into the feel of the game, and ain't nobody going to get you ready more than facing up against Steph. So, I mean, it was just like to see.
Okay. I think the only games we haven't talked about is the Grizzlies, Pacers, and the Clippers, Nets. Right? Because we talked Pistons, Jazz, right? Yeah.
Well, we didn't talk Pistons, Jazz. We just talked about the Pistons, but I mean, the Jazz are cooking.
Yeah, I mean, the Jazz are doing what they've been doing for at least about since 2010.
Yeah, they're a really good team.
Yeah, they've been solid.
Yeah, they just, I mean. We're just going to boil down to with the Jazz, the same thing as 29 other teams every year. If you got LeBron James, no, well, you're limited. That's just what it is. I mean, they had a great series against Denver. They blew that 3-1 lead. They were the one that started it. But I always felt, and I still do feel like that could have went the other way.
Right.
So it's just kind of, you have to beat up on Detroit. I think they just had their winning streak snap, but they just won like I think 11 straight before that or something, crazy. But they're looking like a formidable squad. I know Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert had a little not out with Shaq, but they've been in the news for stuff Shaq was saying about them and how they responded to it. But he's right to an extent. Those are really good players, but to become great. There's some things you still need to see out of those guys, specifically not losing a 3-1 lead. So, but maybe that is why they're on a rampage this year. They didn't like the taste that left them in the mouth, and they're. I feel like Utah is kind of like the Boston of the Western Conference. They're really good. You think they can go real far, but it wouldn't shock you if you see them bounce in the first or second round either, just because there's something not there. You may not even be able to put your finger on it, but there's just something not quite there.
Right.
So, I mean, Utah's going to have to figure that out. But right now, they're a fun team to watch. They're entertaining. They got great vets and a nice, decent amount of young talent. Great coach, Quinn Snyder. They're on the come up for sure. Okay. Buckeye boy, too. Shout out to Conley.
He's still playing?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know it because he's on my fantasy team.
That's crazy.
But you did beat me, so, I mean, I guess it could kind of go off your radar.
I totally forgot about fantasy. I gotta check my team.
Mm-hmm.
I was on like a two game losing streak. That's crazy. I don't know. I will say this though. Trey is a cheater. I don't know how that man is so good at fantasy.
I'll tell you one thing. Trey strikes me as the guy that buys the books, watches the whole videos.
That's what I'm feeling like.
Freaking calls front offices to get injury report. Like, I ain't got that much dedication. I'm just going to change my lineup each day and call it a day.
Yeah, like this man is 5-0 in basketball right now. And, fantasy basketball. And then he was undefeated in football. And I think it was only till he played Adam that he had a loss here and there.
Yeah, he's not a closer though. That's the thing about Trey. I think he was like that in baseball too. Did he play in a baseball league?
I don't think he was in the baseball.
I think he had a baseball league. I don't know. No, he had another football league that he was always talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean, none of it matters if you don't win the whole thing. So Trey can try again, and I get to see him again. So
I'm not gonna lie.
Knock him off that snide.
If we stop right now, I'm in the playoffs.
Well, good thing we don't stop right now. I got to come from my spot. I always start off slow anyway, so this is par for the course.
It is par for the course for me too. I always start off on a roller coaster. It depends on how much I pay attention.
I make sure to be on it every day, but it only takes a second. Just like to like, share, and subscribe on this page.
Oh yeah, most
easily.
Definitely.
You see that segue? This is what we do.
That was a beautiful segue.
I just try to do what I do. But
make sure y'all pay attention to them YouTubes too. Also, if you don't do the YouTubes, we got the Spotify, we got Apple Music. I mean, not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, which actually Apple Podcasts is very important because if you have that, rate our shows. Open Gym is on there. Nutty North's going to be on there. I'm still editing multiple videos, but it's going to be on there, and rate our shows. Just 5 stars, 4 stars, 3. Let's not go under 3 though.
No.
Yeah, just rate our show. It helps us, helps us get promoted out there more and more. So yeah, if you can't do the video, do the audio. Just rate us.
Put a little love in your heart. That's all we asking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got 2 more games. Grizzly Pacers. You want to talk that one?
The Grizzlies won that one, right?
Nah, Pacers won.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I know I seen the highlights of that this morning, but I couldn't remember who won it. Pacers and Grizzlies are kind of like the same team, really. I think they have the same record, around the same record.
Grizzlies is 9-7, Pacers 12-9. So it's kind of around. The same
it was
record.
Yesterday's loss. Okay, so that brought that down. But I mean, I think standings wise, they're kind of in that same kind of area,
right?
But the thought process is still the same. They're not really.
Yeah, they really are like the same team. We kind of look at it, and plus you got to think like the Grizzlies. They lost Ja for a minute, didn't they?
Yeah, Ja was out for a minute. And Jaren Jackson hasn't played all year. So, I mean.
Oh, that's crazy. I really don't see his name.
No, he hasn't played all year. The Grizzlies they're just kind of. I don't want to put this comparison on them because they won a championship, but it's starting to become low-key like the Pistons of 2004, where they have a team full of also-rans or underrated guys. Like, they just have a team of scrappy dudes. Right. The team that, you find off the scrap heap, you guys just put it together. You have your bona fide star, which Ja is. But, Jaren Jackson, he, like I said, he hasn't played. So, Kyle Anderson's had to step up. Jonas Valanciunas has had to step up. Brandon Clark has had to step up. Grayson Allen has had to step up. Like, these are guys that on other teams, they'll probably, maybe not get the burn that they need or maybe not have the impact. But with the Grizzlies, I mean, and piece of me tells me that it's the head coach that gets them there. But they're just a scrappy team that kind of strikes me as they're always going to be hanging around. Kudos to them for it. But the Pacers, they're going to regress to Amin at some point because they're.
I mean, Sabonis look like he's been balling.
Yeah, he has, but he's going to need help at some point. Sure. TJ Warren's being out, and it's not necessarily indictment on their roster construction. It's more so, you trade for Karis LeVert, and then you look up and Karis LeVert has a kidney problem, so he ain't played this year, may not play this year.
I'm gonna need Karis to come back. I need him back on my fantasy team. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, it's a possibility he never comes back. They just got Jeremy Lamb back, but I don't think Jeremy Lamb's that guy. Oladipo probably was, but they traded him.
Right.
Oladipo's a guy that I don't think he was going to, put you in contender status or nothing, but having Oladipo helps you, be a first round exit, which Indiana has been known to do over the last decade for real. But I think it's just kind of like Paul George was saying, Indiana's happy with just being a good team. They're not necessarily trying to be a great team. They're not necessarily trying to be a championship team. They're not trying to be really bad, but they're not necessarily going to ever be really good because of the constraints and restrictions they put on themselves. So eventually it's going to come back to them, but I think they're good enough to hold on to that top half of that Eastern Conference spot. So we'll see how it continues with them, especially with Miami and Toronto kind of torpedoing down the standings.
Yeah, what's going on with Miami?
Jimmy Butler being out really more than anything. I think Jimmy Butler was hurt, and then he had the COVID tracing situation, and then there was a couple games where half of their team wasn't out there because of the COVID restrictions and stuff like that. So
okay, that makes sense because I was just sitting back one day and I'm like, what happened to Miami? They seemed like they had it together last year.
And then, I mean, it's a combination of things, too. Like, I've always felt like the bubble was perfect for that Miami team because they really loved each other as, like, a team. Those guys, you put them in a constrained place like that, you know, where teammate bonding and chemistry all plays a big role, they're going to go further than they probably should have. And that's what happened last year. They probably played way past what they should have been played for. This is probably not who they are either, but they were probably somewhere towards the bottom half of the Eastern Conference. In all honesty, I mean, I know they were the 5th seed anyway, so it wasn't like they were that far off. But that's probably where they were better suited for. They're not meant to have an injury here, injury there, a couple weeks for your star player being gone, especially a guy like Jimmy Butler. That's basically your heartbeat. Now you have that situation pop up, you're gonna be in loads of trouble. And that's where they are right now. And, you know, part of me still feels like the bubble for some teams, like a Miami, because they went so far, and then that turnaround, it kind of affected them because they probably felt like, all right, we cool, we can come out here and do what we need to do because we've still kind of playing. You know, we were off, 70-some days ago, but we still kind of feel like chemistry is already there. But they didn't expect the rash of injuries ahead and, you know, stuff like that. So that's why they're where they are. But at the same time, they can make a run and they can get back into that lower half of that 8th spot and, you know, maybe do some real damage if they get in the playoffs. So I still would be a little concerned. Like I'm more confident in Miami than I am about Toronto for real. But we'll see how that plays out. But
yeah, okay, so. How did we get on Miami?
I have no clue.
That's crazy. I'm looking at these games and I'm thinking like Miami didn't even play.
Maybe we live in Ohio, so Miami being on the mind ain't too far fetched.
All right, man.
This is my thought process with it.
All right, but last game is Clippers Nets.
That was a doozy. I mean, that's what you expect to see. That's what you want to see when you have so much star power out there. One thing that strikes me though, why was Kawhi guarding Kyrie and not Kevin Durant? Like I don't know what it is about the best players not guarding Kevin Durant. I've seen it with Giannis out there before, and now I'm seeing it with Kawhi. Like, I get that, you know, you have Durant, you have Harden, you have Kyrie, so you're going to lose a matchup someplace, somewhere.
Right.
But the most dangerous player on that court still is Kevin Durant.
I mean, but see, and that's why I had on the notes with Kyrie scoring 39 points. There's still something missing with this team. Like, they still don't have a closer. They still don't have that number one scorer because they trade off every night. So it's like, I get why he would guard Kyrie if Kyrie's the one going off.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think like by not guarding Kevin Durant, it opens up more stuff for Kyrie.
Right.
Because you have to bring more attention. Nick Batum is guarding Kevin Durant. That's, yeah, you're going to get eat up. So now you have to help a lot more instead of just throwing Kawhi on Kevin Durant. Let them battle it out. And then you match up, you know, Paul George on Harden, which probably should be it. Or if nothing else, put Paul George on Durant. You know, that should be where Paul George's role should be. You know, guard the best perimeter player because he's not Kawhi Leonard on defense, but he ain't that far off from him. Right. And you can kind of let Kawhi take more of the offensive load because I can understand that aspect of the offensive guy. You know, you need more. You exert more energy if you're Kawhi Leonard. But that's why you bring Paul George in there to help you out somewhere. It's not to guard, you know, James Harden so you can guard Kyrie. You know, let Reggie Jackson be out there on him. I know he might get cooked up, but
yeah, that was my next thing. Like, who you gonna put on him? Reggie, Lou, like.
Well, I mean.
Yeah, if you don't got Pat, Kyrie's gonna go off.
Yeah, absolutely. But and that's another thing. Depending on what Pat comes back, I think that you will see the real who's guarding who at that point. But just from yesterday's game, it's just the way that I'm seeing it is I want to see the best guard the best. And I'm not seeing that necessarily. Like somebody has to guard somebody good just because you have Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and James Harden on one roster. So Kawhi is going to be on one of those guys. I just thought it wouldn't have been Kyrie. I thought he would have been on Durant or he would have been on James Harden. Those are the two guys that kind of are closer to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard's perimeter stuff. Let Reggie Jackson, let Lou Williams, let, whoever guard Kyrie and deal with what comes out of that. But James Harden and Kevin Durant is still the number one and number two threats. You might have to do some cleaning in this joint. But, it was still, with all that being said, it was a pick'em game. It very easily could have went the way of the Clippers. So, I mean, maybe they found something out of that loss. But I know Kyrie did go crazy. So did Kevin Durant and so did James Harden. That's what you expect out of those guys, though. But, as long as it's, one thing I do like about it, especially with the new NBA, it's not the Golden State Warriors era of NBA where it just seems like you knew what was happening. You knew they were going to just blow past everybody, and talent-wise, nobody can match up. Now, no, nobody has Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, but you can compensate for that in other ways. The Clippers have a deep team. They're depth. They can afford to have Pat Bev out and still be okay. I know they lost, but they still hold their head up high. But it's just
I mean, it wasn't that far. They could have won that game, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's what you want. That's what you need, is to know that I'm still in it, and the ball goes a certain type of way. But if I play these guys 7 times, I still feel confident in being able to get 4 of them. So
yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
I guess it still comes down to the Clippers just need Pat Bev. They need that defensive stopper, and Brooklyn just need defense, to be honest.
Yeah.
They can't keep outscoring these people.
No,
because then they gonna meet a team that can score as well as they can, which is why it don't matter. Like Shannon said, you could have James Harden, you could have a Pardon, Lakers in 5.
I could agree.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, LeBron and AD can score just as well as anyone on that team. So
yeah,
they up there. Yeah, it's like,
I mean, that's something. Speaking of that, that's something I look forward to seeing when they match up. Who
right.
does AD guard?
I mean, if we gonna be honest, AD is he's gonna guard the best player.
I mean, you would think so.
LeBron's gonna tell him to guard the best player. We gonna be honest.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You would think so. But then if you look up and Marc Gasol is chasing Kevin Durant around, and then it's a problem. Like, that's something, again, that I'm seeing with these star players. And I don't know if it's something that kind of speaks to, I don't want to call it the lack of competition, but it seems like this generation, this era of basketball, it's just more about the brand. It's like guys shy away from competition a little bit. They want to do everything to not have to really compete until they get to that certain level. Then it's like, okay, we're in the finals now. We want to do everything we can to compete, but let's take some plays off. Let's take some, possessions off. Let's do whatever. Just out talent, guys, and not really put our best foot forward. Well, I want to see the best, challenge the best. When the Lakers play, I want to see, Anthony Davis guard Kevin Durant. Or I want to see Anthony Davis guard James Harden. I don't want to see Anthony Davis guarding DeAndre Jordan. That doesn't do it for me. So we just see how that all plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we're going to take a break real quick. When we come back, we probably talk a little trades, check Bleacher Report, see what's going on. But, yeah, it's a little short show. But just stick with us, and we'll be back in a minute.
We back.
Yes, sir. We are back. I know y'all saw those commercials, saw those new socials for Score. Make sure y'all check Score out. Show some love to the home team. So check Score out. Show them Mojo. Go get your sports gear with Mojo. Need something installed. Go get with the theater people. Golly, everything, nothing is working for me right now. Thing was so staticky in my ear.
This is one of the rare days you was actually here before me.
Right?
Ain't that something?
And I still can't get right. That's crazy. I blame technology. Don't blame me. But yeah, if you want to do what we doing, make sure you hit up Nakia Booker. I still got to get her card. I keep saying it, but I never get it. That's crazy. Make sure y'all hit the website online, apply, try to get in. And then the school is 5530 East Main Street. So, yeah.
My God. Shout out to Marvell Nichols. Joined the chat. Miss your brother.
He gonna join that chat, but not join this chat.
Well, he always liked me a little more than you, so shout out to
come on, Marvell.
Shout out to my guy.
We the same age. We was like brothers, man.
He must have heard that Bradley Beal to Denver talk. Hopped on.
Man, that man murdered you with against Tracy McGrady.
He knows. That's why the love is there, though.
Come on, man. I deleted that to save you face.
Oh, so it was you.
Nah.
All right.
Nah.
Let me check that trash bin. I'm sure that thing is somewhere around these parts.
That's actually a good point. I never even checked. Nah, Facebook don't keep a trash, man. Never mind.
Facebook keeps everything. They the feds, so it's there somewhere.
They probably keep everything, but supposedly they don't keep live streams. But we know they lying.
I don't trust nobody named Zuckerberg.
No, sir.
That's too many syllables.
Yeah, but we just want to mention it real quick because, T don't really like drama like that. But because, it's kind of like what LeBron said. When something takes away from what really matters, you got to get rid of that. T feels like drama takes away from the facts of the game.
Touche.
So he don't like talking about it. But, we got to just mention it for a minute. Because drama brings in the ratings.
I guess we talk about Colin Cowherd on these shows, and Stephen A gets brought up. We can talk about this. So
we can talk about this. So everyone knows LeBron had a little scuffle, little back and forth with a husband and wife. I forgot their name. I think her name was like Juliana. I don't know the husband's name. I just know for 10 years the man has despised LeBron, which is really weird, especially being 60 years old. You hold a grudge for like 10 years. That's crazy.
I can think of one reason.
I mean, it's because his team is the Hawks, and we all know what happens to the Hawks. They another team. If it wasn't for Toronto, the Hawks would have the nickname, just like Toronto has what's the nickname?
LeBronto.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Toronto having that name, Atlanta might have that too. But, he hated him for years. They exchanged words. She didn't like what LeBron said. She said something back. Took away from the game, just like we're slightly taken away from talking about NBA, just to talk about this drama. But everything's been resolved. We know LeBron doesn't take it to heart. He talks crap on the court. He doesn't take it to heart. He talks with the fans. He interactions with the fans. We know, like he said, it doesn't matter if you like him or you don't. It's just that interaction. He's there for the game. But the Hawks organization said they won't ban them for life, I guess. So
they shouldn't. I mean, it's, to me, I look at it like you need to kind of look at it as far as giving out technicals. Some technicals get you, just teed up, somebody at the free throw line, hit a couple shots, play ball. Some technicals you get tossed out. If they're just talking a little crap. Now, one thing I want to know is, was it more of a big deal because of the lack of actual crowd? I know there's some crowd that's there, but it's not packed house. Not necessarily like Atlanta was packing houses anyway, but still, is it more so because you can hear everything more and they made more of a big deal about it? Or was it just, the LeBron factor where they kind of, LeBron gets kissed up to a lot. And it's more so, and I notice kind of little things here and there, like LeBron has a longer leash with people. I see stuff that he does that other people will probably get you a technical. LeBron, man, the technical. I don't think I've ever seen LeBron get tossed out of a game. And there's been times where I
feel like he got tossed out once.
He may have. I feel like I've seen LeBron get disqualified, like fouled out. I've seen that happen, which is also something that's rare.
Very
but
rare.
That's because I think that it's there's favoritism that happens a little bit.
Right, and before, just to cut you off a little bit, before y'all just take that and run, also know that's just what happens with stars. Like there's always that clip of when Jordan convinced the ref to get that foul to.
Yeah.
I can't remember which player it was. He literally convinced that ref. And LeBron, he does the same thing. He's the star of the league. That's why when LeBron's gone, the NBA is gonna be way different.
Yeah, but Imani Bates is coming down the line, so
Sure.
you hear it here. That man's gonna be a star. That's what I tell you. The NBA gonna be all right.
They said the same thing about Stephon Marbury.
I didn't say that. But Stephon Marbury, he had the juice too. He had bad decision making. That will hurt you. But no, I mean, I don't know what was said.
Right.
But at the
I forgot who it was, but sorry to cut you off again. But some organization said when they reviewed the tape back, all LeBron said was like the man was on steroids. Which, if you see the pictures, he looked like he roided up.
Mm.
So it was something like that like sparked her off or something.
Well, I mean, that's too. I mean, that's why I said it has to be kind of monitored different, because if they're going back and forth, then let it happen.
Right.
I'm not big on doing too much policing of what actually comes with the flow of the game. And like you said, if it's taken away from the game, that's one thing, but make sure it doesn't. LeBron still gets to run up and down the court. If he's paying attention to it, then that brings attention to that. So you can't necessarily be like, I don't feel like they should have got kicked out of there. You can do that. If you don't feel like it was that serious, LeBron could go up and tell somebody, yo, well, I don't think y'all need to do all this. You know what I'm saying? We just going back and forth. If anything, tell them to chill. Give them a warning or something. I don't think that they were doing anything malicious. It is funny that he called her a courtside Karen. That's funny. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm big on if you can dish it, you got to be able to take it. So,
right.
I mean, from what I saw, it wasn't nothing malicious. Words are still just words.
I mean, from what I saw, it just seems they couldn't get her to sit down, and then LeBron, he's not going back down from it, so he's just gonna be barking. So the refs had to control it somehow. If LeBron gonna be barking and she won't sit down and put her mask on, you gotta get rid of somebody. You can't get rid of the star, especially. I mean, you can get rid of him, but I feel like it's easier to get rid of the fan before you get rid of the star.
It is, but the fan is also the reason that the star is the star. You have to keep that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to set that dangerous tone and precedent that, you got to come to the game and be mute either. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's the point. That's part of the allure of being on the road. And the players will tell you that. I love the heckling. I love to shut somebody up after they yelling at me and this, that, and third.
Right.
That's how you do it. There's just, to me, I just feel like there should be more of a warning. There should have been more of a...
Yeah, me personally, I feel like they should have just moved them back from the court side.
I wouldn't have been against that either, but that just goes to happen. It goes to show what happens when you kiss up to somebody, though. Sure. Like it's all or nothing kind of mentality where we just have to get her up out of here because LeBron has a problem with it. Would you have done the same thing if she was doing that to Caruso? Maybe. I know Caruso has his own name, but Caruso ain't no LeBron James.
Yeah. So
would that same lady been kicked out if she was jawing at Caruso? I don't know. I don't think so. So I'm just big on staying consistent. Anybody should, especially when it comes to being official, because that's what you ask for in the game. If I get fouled here and you call it here, call it the other way. If you're going to let LeBron say something to the fans, you need to let the fans say something to LeBron. Otherwise, I just don't think that you have to go to worst case scenario and kick them out.
Right.
If anything, if you're going to do that, refund them their money. Because you do earn a right to be able to say something, as long as it's within the confines of,
of the game.
Yeah, what's not too tasteless. You know what I'm saying? Like if it gets too much, then you have to do something about it. But then, like I said, it's no different than a scuffle.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, at the end of the day, like I said, if it was between him and the husband, at the end of the day, the husband has a problem with LeBron. LeBron probably recognizes him a little bit, so they gonna go back and forth. She didn't like it. At some point, he had to step in. Her husband had to step in and just be like, "Yo, just relax."
If I'm the husband, I'm salty. Like, man, why you gotta
like you just going off. Like the man, like I don't like the man. We going back and forth. Like, thanks for defending me, but just like don't take it too far to where we getting kicked out.
Yeah, that's what happens sometimes though when you let them get too far on the leash. You gotta reel her in. That's what I'm saying.
I would like to say he said leash. I didn't say leash.
Listen, I'll say it again. Leash. Leash. I don't care about no doggone public perception. Man, I could care less. Come at me.
All right.
T Nesbitt, Facebook name. You want to say something? Come out. Matter of fact, do it on the page.
Do it on the page.
Do it on the page. And while you're there, like, share, subscribe, do all that. If you got something to say, make sure you like, share, subscribe to it too.
Yeah, definitely. If you got something to say, hate comment, like comment, do it on the page.
They know by now. I ain't never worried. I'll say what I want when I want.
I'm gonna be honest. You can do all the hate comments you want to. It's just gonna be sitting there.
I'm gonna laugh at you.
Oh God.
I hear worse things just in my regular life.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think nothing nobody can say to me on the internet is worse than what I hear when I walk out these doors.
I done said worse things about myself. Come on now.
Touche.
All right, but the trades, we already talked about Bill not wanting to be traded.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the most surprising one to me is that J.J. Redick wants out of the Pelicans, it seems, and the Knicks are the top, which is really weird. That's not a hotspot destination.
No, but it does go to, what I said earlier about not everybody is actually playing to win a championship at that time. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, J.J. Redick, he might just be a guy that's like, if I, and I can respect that. If, and I've said it before, I might end up respecting the fact that Vince didn't win championships more than I respect Durant actually winning them. Just because you can do little stuff to, help get you there. You can kind of cheat the system or whatever to get you a little cheap ring. But it takes for somebody to do things the way that they want, how they want, the way that they want, and not have to chase anything to, if I get it, I get it. Cool. If not, I still had a great career. I still had a long career. J.J. Redick's kids will never starve. I know he does a podcast, so he has another way of gaining money and stuff like that. He might just want to be close to family. I know I've heard that his family lives like somewhere out in the East Coast, so that might be a thing. He's all the way out in New Orleans. That, and I can commend a guy that says my family is more important than, some people, this is work stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if most people at a job had to decide between their family and their job, most people would pick their family. You can replace another job. You can't replace your family. So, if that's what it's about, then, hey, that's cool. I can see why he wants out of New Orleans. New Orleans was one of those things that he probably tried to see if it'll work. It didn't work. Now let's get up. Let's get out of here.
Especially since I think New Orleans going a little bit younger, trying to build around Zion.
Yeah,
so.
Which they should do. Zion, B.I., that's a nice little start. J.J. Redick don't fit that timeline, so nothing wrong with trying to get in and get out. So don't knock it.
The only other trade rumor was the Spurs and the Lakers, and I think it was around Kuzma, which you already said like he's a little overrated just being in L.A. And it's a little crazy to think he's an NBA champion. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that still goes to show you that it's just about situation. If Kyle Kuzma was on another team, he doesn't have a championship. But you're on a team with LeBron James, he's going to get you a championship. He'll get you close to it at least. You just have to win in that finals. But you're going to look at the list of guys that LeBron won with and be like, man, that's crazy. This man had all kind of talent. And then you're going to look at some of the guys that he won championships for, and it's like, yeah, he looked out for a lot of people. Yeah, everybody ate around here. So, Kyle Kuzma, I think it's going to be inevitable. At some point, he gets traded. I thought when they gave him that contract, that was just, we have to give you that contract so we don't lose you for nothing, but we're going to trade you. So we just, see where he goes and see if he can spread his wings and fly somewhere. Maybe he does end up in San Antonio and Pop can get the most out of him, but we'll see. I like Kuzma's game, but I just think that it's, going back to that DeMar DeRozan conversation, all-star, superstar, whole different ball game. So
yeah, I feel like he got the talent. He does too much. He truly does.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's the last I had on my show notes. Anything else you want to
We
add?
got it done. So
got it done.
Now check us out next week. Check us out tomorrow on the final Nutty North show. You won't want to miss that. We should have a surprise for you. So definitely. And we got the Facebook, not the Facebook, the YouTube, the Spotify, all that. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, everything we do. Don't be a hater. Like and share.
Yeah, make sure y'all rate. Make sure y'all do all that. just check us out everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know where to find it, just go to my Facebook, Rondell Sutherland. The last thing, I don't be on there much, but when I do post, it's always about these shows. Every link to any audio podcast is on the show, and the link to the first episode of Open Gym is on that page. That page is just basically an outlet. I don't use it personally.
Well, as long as we get it out. But yeah, definitely check us out.
But check us out, man.
And we out.
Yeah, we out.
What's wrong